Okay, and we are live streaming, and I'm waiting to see us on the transcoder. And there we are. Okay, everybody looks wonderful. Okay, Jordan, when you're ready, let's do the countdown from 10, and then I will play the music.
All right, we're ready.
Okay, so everybody join me. 10,
10,
10,
9,
9,
9,
8,
8,
7,
7,
7,
6,
6,
6,
5.
5,
5,
Ball's never going to drop.
4,
4,
4,
3,
3,
3,
2,
2,
2,
1.
1.
And here we go. Can you hear it? Let's dance. Thank you, Jordan.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, aka Radio Red, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's aka Radio Red.
Thank you to the wonderful voice who introduces me. We're going to lower this music. I'm Radio Red, aka, and we are here. It's Monday. Where in the world else would I be? Listen, it's the first Monday in February. I don't know if anybody cares about that besides me, but I think 8.5 minutes ago we were planning what we were going to do on New Year's Eve. And here we are a month later. I don't know whether you all had an exciting New Year's Eve. Mine was a little boring, but I just never expected January to go whoosh. So here we are. I'm thrilled to be here. I have three wonderful guests. They're very interesting people, but I have had the privilege of getting to know them for 2 minutes on the clock at the National Publicity Summit a couple months ago. I don't think they remember me, and I have their bio, so I remember who they are. And we're just going to get to know them and find out what creativity means to them. But before we get started, everybody, I've already prompted you all, and Jordan is going to be the judge of how we do. I want you to put up your finger in the shape of the letter L. Either hand is fine. We can read forwards and backwards. Doug, come on. There we go. Dave, let's go. There we go. And, oh, beautiful. Doug, it's off the screen. Just back it up a little bit. There we go. And on the count of three, I want you to join me exactly at this speed and saying it will be 1, 2, 3. I want you to say hello, L, L, L. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Hello,
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 L,
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 L.
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 Jordan, they're tied for the first place. I think they're moving ahead of last week's show. Can you put them in a tie for, yeah, we've got a tie for 2. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener. She's in Whitestone, New York. And Josh, I've been trying to get her to move to a place with L for years, but we couldn't afford London and it was too hot there. So I'm in Loudon, Tennessee, and she still hasn't decided if she wants to move here yet. But LLL has caught the flu again. She's already lived through COVID and she's got a really bad bug. So she said she won't be listening live tonight, but she will catch the show later on YouTube. So I want to send her a big mwah and a get well. And she will send me, after she hears the show, she'll send me a little book report and she'll tell me what Douglas said and what David said and what Josh said. She'll give a little summary. And she's been doing this for many, many years and we appreciate her. So there you go. Our most loyal listener, LLL. Today is February 3rd. It's the 34th day of the 2025 Gregorian calendar. Used to be the Julian calendar, and I don't know if you all know it, but Julian skipped a couple of days in October. So, Dave, if your birthday was something like October 10th, or Josh, October 11th, or Doug, I don't know, somewhere in there, you might not have got to celebrate your birthday because they just chunked out a bunch. So, Gregory came along, Gregorian, and he said, I have a better idea. I'm going to give you a leap year every fourth year and throw in an extra date, and we're going to catch up to the moon. And now we have the Gregorian calendar, and I'm very proud to say we love it. It's the 5th Monday of the year, and it's still easy for me to count that. So let's go to, I have a lovely opening, and I'm going to honor each of my special guests. And guests, by the way, we didn't take pictures before the show. We were very busy setting up, so I want you to stick around at the end, and we're going to do some wonderful pictures. So here we go, and when I call your name, please wave so everybody knows. Well, they see your names, but they want to see you wave anyway. So here we go. Welcome to Read My Lips, where aka Radio Red shines bright. Can you all see me? I have lip gloss on here shining. Bringing cool conversations with creatives for your delight. In her Scarlett Mike's live streaming glow, she opens the door for creative sparks to ignite and inspiration to soar. Today, the reaches of creativity will brighten up your day with 3 vibrant creatives. You all have to be very vibrant now because I've introduced you that way, whose imaginations will play. Passion and purpose have helped their paths unfold as they discovered creativity's magic that makes their life bold. Here we go. Dr. Colonel Josh McConkey, a healer, a leader, a mentor so wise. With 2 decades in medicine, he reaches the skies. From Duke to the Air Force, his service is strong, guiding the future where young minds belong. An honored physician, a Hall of Fame name, shaping tomorrow is his ultimate aim. Josh, I hope you like that.
That was very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, let's go to Doug. Douglas L. Schmidt is with us. From selling tech in Philly's embrace to mastering deals with power and grace. Self leadership guides his path so bright, unlocking talents with wisdom and with light. Doug's book sparks growth, self worth in command, helping us all take life's reins in hand. Doug, I hope you enjoyed that. Thumb up. I got a big thumb up there. There we go. And David A. Collier, who also is AKA David A. Bourbon, drink up, a scholar, a teacher, storyteller bold, with decades of wisdom and knowledge untold. From research to novels, Dave's passion took flight, crafting new worlds with purpose and might. Romance and echo side, stories that stay. His words make a difference in their own special way. Dave, what'd you think?
Wow.
Got a wow. Good. I work with Sylvia Speed, my virtual assistant. I'll tell you more later. So join me, aka Radio Red, as we gather to see the reaches of creativity that shine and keep us free. So gather round, lend us your eye and your ear as we dive into creativity with vision clear. My roundtable is set today. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. How'd I do? What do you think?
Lovely.
They're almost
Perfect.
speechless. Thank you.
Perfect.
I'll go for that. Thank you. I'll tell you the creative process for creating. I don't call them poems. I call them rhyming bios, and I will tell you after the show. So I'm very glad you enjoyed that. So now what I'd like to, by the way, is anybody an Aquarius? Because we're still in the zodiac sign of Aquarius. Anybody an Aquarian here? Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Okay, I'll just tell you that Aquarians are clever, creative, intellectual, independent, progressive thinkers. They're humanitarians, unconventional. They're personality collectors, but they also need freedom and they're stubborn. Anybody want to be an honorary Aquarian? I'm offering it to you. Josh, Doug wants to be an honorary Aquarian. Doug, what is your real sign?
Leo.
Leo. Oh, well, hey, roar. Go ahead and roar for us. The lion is
Roar.
in the kingdom there. Dave, you don't want to be an Aquarian?
Leo too.
Two.
Boy.
Josh, you going to make it a hat trick? What do you think?
Virgo.
Okay, Virgo, and I'm a Libra, so we got a couple of L's here. Well, I think the more I research these signs, I find that they've all got people who are intellectual and clever and progressive and all of that. So as long as you're creative, that's why you're here. And thank you very much. I'd like to go around the table and ask you briefly if there's anything important that I left out of your little tiny 6-line bio stanza, and just get to know you a little bit more. So, Josh, you're up first. I'm putting you on speaker view. I warned you. And we'd love to hear a little bit more about you. So, Josh, welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So this is the year of the snake. And so I was born in 1977 and I am, this is my birth year. So for the Chinese calendar, I grew up in a very small town in rural Western Nebraska. Dad was a railroader. My grandfather was a railroader and my great grandfather. So I came from a very long line of railroaders. I broke the mold and actually went to college. So I was the first McConkey ever to do that, and could not be contained in the small town and have got to explore the world with medicine and the military.
Tell me about your commanding of a U.S. Air Force Reserve post right now. Tell us a little bit about that.
That is the thing that I'm by far the most proud of things that I've done a lot of crazy things. I spent time in the State Department. I've been all over the world, flown some combat missions in leading 100 men and women in the United States Air Force. We have the best warfighting medics. We fly basically critical care air transport missions. If people have heard of CCAT before, critical care air transport team, you can be anywhere on planet Earth in 24 hours with some high-speed equipment bags and better prepared with more equipment and medications than most third world hospitals. And I think it's the best mission in the entire Department of Defense.
Lovely. And you're also an author. I think there's a children's book somewhere on your myriad
Yes.
books
Oh,
you've got behind you. Can we see
this
it?
right here. Yeah. It's
Yes.
Be the Weight Behind the Spear.
Yeah.
I'm trying. That's my prescription to save America.
Okay.
Very
Thank
simply.
you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. let's go to Doug Schmidt. Doug, putting you on speaker view. What did I leave out of that extensive 6-line bio? Doug, welcome.
First of all, that was a great bio. I really like that bio. It made me smile. What the basically what I look at is in my book, I talk about what are my talents, strengths, and superpowers. What I like talking about is what are my superpowers? And my two superpowers are learning and connecting to I call smart, accomplished people. And that relates to creativity as much as when I'm learning, it creates like a bank deposit of various information and resources that I can bring up when I'm looking to do creative ideas. And my passion also is for understanding leadership, what I call resident leadership versus distant leadership. And I've been really fortunate. I've been around some really great leaders, many of who are in the military, who've taught me so many lessons. And one of the lessons they've taught me are manage your ego. The mission is more important than me. Learning, all the people I've seen in the military, everyone's been a learner. And I've connected that and wrote a book using a lot of leaders and also creatives, like my friend's a great drummer. And how do you create a life where you utilize your talent, strengths, and superpowers? So you're living your best life, basically what you're on this earth for. So that's what I'm really interested in this following year, and see what happens with this book. It'll be published hopefully in a couple of weeks. We're going through the final proof right now, so I'm really excited to see what my audience thinks about that.
Good.
So.
Very happy. Congratulations almost on being at that stage of almost having the book published. Yes. And thank you for sharing what you do. I like to think my superpower is talking to smart, interesting people as well. So you and I, and learning all the time.
Yes.
I don't have a degree in journalism or broadcast or communications. My degree is, I have a bachelor's degree, magna cum laude, in psychology, but I just try to figure out what people really mean, Josh. So
there you go.
It came in very handy, but I learned along the way. I was at my first job was, I'm an early woman in tech, and I didn't know that till 2 years ago when I was the opening speaker for the Women in Big Data organization on International Women's Day. And I showed them what a mainframe computer looked like, and a key punch, and a COBOL handbook, and all that good stuff. And they said, "What planet are you from, lady?" They said, "You're an early woman in tech." I said, "Well, thank you very much. Now I have a new title." And then I just accidentally got into radio and TV and communications and marketing, and it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, so thank you very much, Doug. And David A. Collier, and he wanted to make sure we had the David A in there because there are a lot of Colliers. Like, there aren't too many RadioReds, and I'll tell you the derivation of my name in a minute. Dave, delighted to have you here. I'm putting you on speaker view. Would you please fill in the blanks for me? Welcome.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, and I had 2 degrees from the University of Kentucky. One's in engineering, but even my creativity journey really started when they shot up Sputnik in 1957. And there I am telling how old I am because I was 10 years old in 1957. And I was old enough to understand what was going on. And so that, all the things about technology and we were behind the Russians, et cetera. And then I got 2 degrees from UK, and my favorite course in engineering school was thermodynamics, which is the study of heat, and that comes in pretty important topic today. So I can read a lot of technical papers and understand them without much trouble. And then, of course, the other thing that influenced me early in my life was Star Trek. I saw every show 2 or 3 times. I've got 3 or 4 books that summarize everything about Star Trek. So that's my background. And then I got a PhD from Ohio State eventually. I taught at the University of Virginia, Duke, Ohio State, and Florida Gulf Coast University. And I have a track record there in academia, sort of boring stuff of creativity. I have one article that probably triggered quite a few thousands of follow-up articles and defined the whole research stream. There's probably 5,000 articles if you knew where to look, and the original one was mine. And I'll give you one more quick example. I wrote a short little book called The Automation of Services. Automation of Services in the early 80s. And myself and 7 or 8 other faculty around the world, we all sort of said, hey, there's more than manufacturing going on in 1980. And we started trying to define what was a service business and did it have tangible assets and all these different things. So that's a quick background of how I got to here.
You were early, David. Businesses as a service. You know, they used to say you're not just buying a hammer, where do you want that nail put in? It's creating the hole for the nail to go in, and where does that go from there? My goodness gracious. Yeah, you watch Star Trek. When I was a young divorcee with 2 young children, they were watching Star Trek and they introduced me to it as their mom, and we used to eat dinner. Forgive me, everybody, but we used to eat dinner in front of the TV, living in Eugene, Oregon, in a small apartment. And I would help them with their homework, but during dinner, we would watch Star Trek very often.
Oh,
And
TV dinners in aluminum.
no, I cooked. You're not going to stick me with that. I cooked. But anyway, we were sitting there and they introduced me to Star Trek and a lot of MASH. I don't know why, but I hadn't watched any of that stuff. I was busy doing other things and my kids said, let's watch this, Mom. So they introduced me. So thank you very much. And by the way, Josh, I just had somebody on one of my other shows I will tell you about later after the show who is the owner and the founder of USOG. And he does medical lifts in his drones. He has a drone company and he does
wow.
medical lifts around the world. And I will make an introduction if you'd like to meet him. So I'll tell you
Sure.
about him later on the show. Okay. He was just on one of my other programs. Lovely to meet all of you. There's an awful lot of brain power here, gentlemen. There's an awful lot of expertise. There's a heck, that's the word I wasn't going to use the other word. There's a heck of a lot of college degrees and letters after your names, and I am very impressed. And as I said at the beginning, I get to meet you in 2 minutes on the clock, literally at the Publicity Summit. And then I get your bios and whatever you're sending me for the deliverables, but I'm really getting to know and appreciate you now. So thank you for being here. I'm very, very impressed. I think you're all above my pay grade, but that's besides the point. Okay, so now it's time for the quotes. You each sent me. It's okay, David. I understand. I'll be nice about it. I appreciate you. I have asked each of you to send me a fictional quote, and David Collier and I went back and forth on this a couple of times. A fictional quote from a movie or TV character or a song lyric, and you're going to explain in your own words what it has to do with your creativity. So may I call you Josh, or would you like to be Dr.
Yes.
McConkey?
Oh, Josh. Josh is good.
We're good friends by now. Okay. Anybody with a Shure microphone, I can call them by their first
Yeah.
name. Thank you. So here's the quote you sent me. The quote is from the song Enjoy the Silence by the English electronic music band Depeche Mode, 1990. Oh my, an interesting factoid. At a September 24th, 1980 concert, they changed their name. This band had so many names, Josh. They were called The Plan, and then they were called Norm and the Worms, and then they were called Composition of Sound, and they kept changing their genre. They were synth pop, and they were this, and they were that, and guitar, and then they had new synthesizers and everything. So they finally, at a concert in 1980, changed their name to Depeche Mode, which was chosen by Dave Gahan, Gahan, and it's a mistranslation of the French fashion magazine Depeche Mode. It means hurried fashion or fashion dispatch. I like the sound of that. The real translation is fashion news or fashion update, which I don't think was the title they wanted. So here's the quote you picked. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my arms. What a beautiful quote. I don't know where you're going to go with this, Josh. I'm putting you back on speaker view. Enlighten us, please.
Yeah, that is a fantastic album. So that's off the Violator album. I'm a bit of a music nerd. And that song, it was one of the first music videos that really stuck out for me when MTV, back when they showed videos on MTV. It's a fantastic video. And the main character is just kind of roaming around the world and, just the silence. Basically, after my service in Iraq, I realized that nobody really cares like how big your house is and how much money you make and what kind of car you drive. Like none of that matters. For me, I was staring death in the face doing some combat missions. I flew one air assault, and for about 1 or 2 minutes, I was guaranteed. I definitely thought I was going to die. I watched my life flash in front of my eyes. Like none of that stuff matters. Like just like the people, my
Mhm.
family. I mean, that is what matters. Just like I can hold them in my arms. Like nothing else matters. Like those physical items and money doesn't matter.
Okay. All I have is what I have in my arms. That's lovely. And by the way, anybody who is not familiar with the band, I didn't read. I was so excited about the name change. They're an English electro music band formed in Basildon, Essex in 1980. Dave Gahan, Martin Gore, Andy Fletcher, and Vincent Clark with an E on the end. It's currently just Gahan and Gore. They were a dominant force in electro and alternative music scenes, and they played at the 1988 Pasadena Rose Bowl, and they drew 60,000 people. And this song you selected is certified gold in the US and Germany, and it won the Best British Single at the Brit Awards in 1991. And the album is number 7 on the Billboard 200, certified 3 times platinum by the RIAA. I thought you'd like that. And Vincent and
Sweet.
Andy were schoolmates, and their first band was called No Romance. Just wanted you to know that. So
Some
see,
good trivia.
I do my homework. There I go. Doug Schmidt, I'm looking at your quote here, and you have picked a classic for this show. Let me get back to speaker view here. I'm so excited to talk to Josh about his quote. Okay, so here we go. This is a quote from Base Commander Colonel Nathan R. Jessup, USMC, played by who else? Jack Nicholson. This is an iconic role, an iconic movie. A Few Good Men, 1992 American legal drama based on Aaron Sorkin's 1989 play. I think it had to do with his sister being in the military. Yes, he had a phone conversation with his sister Deborah, who graduated from Boston University Law School, and she signed up for a 3-year stint with the U.S. Navy JAG, the Judge Advocate General's Corps. And she was going to Guantanamo to defend a group of Marines who came close to killing a fellow Marine in a hazing ordered by an officer. Sorkin wrote much of the story on cocktail napkins while he was bartending at the Palace Theater on Broadway. And his roommate had bought a Macintosh 512K computer. And after work, he took all the notes out of his pocket and from the cocktail napkins, and he put them in, and he wrote the basis for the play. So here is the line. It's 5 words. It packs a punch. And Doug quoted this: "You can't handle the truth." Okay, Doug, what's this got to do with your creativity? Talk to me.
Well, it's really interesting when that came from Jack Nicholson. In fact, I met Kevin Bacon. He lives in New York, so I met him and had an interesting discussion with him. I think today, can't handle the truth is that. Well, it's interesting too. I'm a civilian. I have a lot of Marine friends, and this relates to General Mattis too. Is facts. Get the facts. Facts are so critical today. So I think it relates to creativity in a couple different ways. In that, understanding whatever challenges we're facing, could be education, environment, whatever. That facts are so important that we understand the facts, that we're not just in some la la land with some theories that have nothing to do with basis information. It's just some crazy stuff. So for me, facts matter in that. Without the facts, what are we discussing? In fact, my good friend is a Marine. He's teaching 6th graders the difference between opinions and facts. And that when we get to, like, I'm sure Josh would go, hey, look at the blood pressure, the vitals. First thing I want to look at. And if we don't have the vitals and they're not facts, that creates issues and problems from a medical standpoint. So I think in any situation, facts
Doug, I want to know more than any situation, since we're not doing a broad view here. I want to know, how does this affect your creativity, what you write, what you do? You can't handle the truth. Has there been a time in your creative journey? I hate that word. I know it's overused, but has there been a time in your journey when a truth hit you between the eyes? Yeah, I want to be a comedian and it didn't work out so well, or I want to be an artist, or you can't handle the truth that you are a good writer, that you are a good communicator. here? How does this, anything personal you could share with us?
Oh, I've been in corporate environments where people couldn't handle the truth, and that I don't get into all the different situations, but I'm in situations where truth and facts didn't matter. It's like some kind of la la. So what I relied on, in fact, in writing this book, is that when I wrote this book, I wanted to make sure that what my thesis was backed up by evidence and research that backed up my thesis and what I'm trying to communicate. For example, I talk about a growth and grit mindset, and Carol Dweck and Angela Duckworth out of Penn and Carol Dweck out of Stanford wrote research on what constitute a growth and grit mindset. Let's define it. What does that look like versus some obtuse thing we have no idea? And once we define it and look at the facts, we can make more appropriate decisions. And that relates to creativity and what am I trying to solve, and what's the basis and the underlying facts of what I'm trying to solve. And without the facts, as Mattis would say, we're living in a la-la land. Bad things happen. So I think related to the facts for me are important.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm the kind of person who goes by my heart, sometimes my whim, and I'll wake up one day and I'll say, I think I'm going to start 2 new radio shows. And then I come up with a graphic and I come up with a title and I talk to a couple of people and I say, that's a cool idea. And the next thing you know, I'm doing it. So, and the facts are for me today, Doug, is that anybody can speak to the world. Our media has changed, right, David? You and I are coming from way back in the day with our technology. I shouldn't have said that. We're just young kids, Dave, and we just remember yesterday or last week. There we go, Red. Don't do that. Anyway, my point is that, and the facts, but the facts today are that you can have a lot to say and you can say it the right way, and people are listening to other people's facts, right, Dave? Doug? And when I'll tell you at the end of the show, I'm going to give some birthday shout outs. And in that birthday shout out will be somebody from Instagram and somebody from YouTube. There might be 2 from Insta and 1 from Twitch. And they have got millions of followers. You have never heard of them. Neither have I. But they have a birthday today. And most of them are under 30 years old. So the fact is that anybody can speak today. And you could talk about self-leadership. And I love your topic, Doug. It's a very, very important topic. The word self is what grounds it for me. But you don't know who's going to want to listen to what your message is. And that to me is the fact that I can't handle the truth sometimes. There you go. See, I took your quote. I turned it back on myself. There we go. I think I'm getting in trouble here. Josh is saying, when's she going to dig herself back out of this hole? Okay, let's go on. David Collier saying, I'm here for your Red. I'm here for your Red. Come to me. Doug, thank you. That was very, very interesting. So David Collier has picked a quote from Kenny Rogers, The Gambler, 1978. And it turns out that the song was written by somebody named Don Schlitz. And several people sang the song, and it never went anywhere. He wrote it when he was 23 years old. And Casey Kasem said, something more than me. Oh, he told Casey Kasem, something more than me wrote that song. I'm convinced that I had no idea where the song was coming from. There was something going through my head, which was my father. Did you know this story, Dave, about the song? His father, and he said, there was something going through my head. It was just a song, and somehow it filtered through me. 6 weeks later, I received in my head the final verse. Month later, it came to me that it was inspired by and possibly a gift from my dad, and his dad had passed away that year in 1976. He shopped the song all over Nashville. Bobby Bear recorded it, never did much with it. It only went to number 65. Schlitz recorded it himself, never went anywhere. And Johnny Cash recorded it. I don't have the stats. And then Kenny Rogers came along, and he recorded it in Nashville with producer Larry Butler. And it was the title track from his album, The Gambler. It was one of the early crossover hits ever to go from country to the pop charts. Very rare. It won the Grammy for Best Male Country Vocal Performance in 1980. I thought that was very, very interesting. The lyrics describe the narrator meeting a gambler on a summer evening while riding aimlessly on a train. The gambler can tell from the narrator's face that he's doing poorly and offers him advice if he'll buy him a drink of whiskey. After the narrator obliges, as with whiskey and a cigarette, why not? The gambler describes his outlook using a poker metaphor. So here is the line. You've got to know when to hold them. It's going to make me cry, Dave. How could you? Know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You're not supposed to make the host cry, and I can't even tell you why. Dave, take over. Tell us how you found this and what does this have to do with your creativity? Go.
Well, I've always loved that song and Kenny Rogers, and I always thought that song encapsulates life. You're confronted with all kinds of issues in your life, and when do you hold them? When do you fold them? Try something different. Do you know when to walk away? And sometimes you want to run. And in raising my two sons, they would come in, Dad, I've been treated unfairly or whatever, and I'm saying, play the hand you're dealt. And you have to know when to hold them, fold them, or whatever. And so that was sort of the way a philosophy that I used to raise my sons, and I live by that. And a really immediate example, talking about creativity, I'm working on my fourth novel, Earth's Exocyte Siva. And Siva is a tidally locked planet in another galaxy. And I'm through the second draft of the first 8 chapters, and they are solid. I'm thrilled with the first 8 chapters, and now I'm at a point where I'm wondering if I should hold them, fold them, add something new, or just keep going with the way I had the first draft. All right. And I've got folders, which almost line up with that. I've got the great ideas, but let's hold these ideas for a while. Maybe not put them in the novel. Some ideas that, no, I'll keep them, but that's for another novel or not this novel. And then, what do you want to do here? And so I'm at a point where I'm trying to decide whether to just continue or add another chapter that I didn't have in the first draft.
I love it. I absolutely love it. My novel has been written for 2 years, and I keep looking at it every couple months. I made the mistake of taking the almost murder part out of the almost murder mystery and making it into a separate story. And now I have to put it back in the background story. But the background story is so funny that every time I read it, I say, what do I need the murder for? But I have to introduce these characters, and I'm stuck. But I'll tell all of you something before we go. And I'm ready to do your creativity statements. We got some really good ones here today. I recently joined something called a 12 Short Stories in 12 Months Challenge, run by a woman named Mia Botha, Botha, and she's based in Pretoria, South Africa. And I heard about her on a writer's forum that everybody's, you can attend for a whole day and hear 25 writers talk about how to get rid of your writer's block or how to get motivated or how to put romance into a book or how to fact check your characters or whatever, and all kinds of advice. I don't listen to them, but once in a while I pick somebody out, and she was offering this challenge. So I did the challenge. You're not going to believe this, any of you. She gives you exactly 24. She gives you a month to write your short story. She gives you a 1-word prompt and the number of words. For January, it was 1,200 words exactly. That's more than a short story. That's you got a lot of stuff going on. I've written micro memoirs for 300 words that tell an entire story. 1,200 is massive. You have to have either the prompt, and the prompt was found, the word found. So people wrote about lost and found. You don't have to use it, but it has to infiltrate or inform your theme. 24 hours you get exactly to post your story on her website. Now, she's in South Africa, so everybody was scrambling to figure out what was the time zone where we all live. And people are on Facebook say, what time is it? Did I miss it? Was it yesterday? Is it? Anyway, I was shocked to learn 557 people submitted 1,200-word story to her website this past Tuesday. You're supposed to read 4 stories and comment. There's a way to hit a comment and reply in a positive way. It could be a suggestion, or it could just be, I loved your story. and then you're supposed to share your comments with other people, and you comment on them, they comment on you. I got a comment on mine instantly, and then a couple days later, I got a few more. But anyway, this is how many people, Dave, are starting to figure out that they have a story in them, that they want to tell a story. And I'm going to tease you a little bit here, David, because I had an author on the show a year or so ago who was writing about sci-fi worlds, dystopian universes. And he had his own language he created for his characters. And when he came on the show, we did the countdown in the beginning. You know, I do mine in French, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He used a made up language from his book. And we had no idea what he was saying. But that's part of creativity, right? So I was, when you said you had this, the other, I was thinking you were going to do it. Anyway, countdown. Thank you very much, everybody, for the quotes. I really appreciated the effort you put into bringing interesting quotes. And I love doing the lookup. So let's go to our creativity statements. And Josh, I'm going to combine two of your statements here. I think these are really good. Take about 3 minutes to unpack these, as they say on the news. So number one, you say, I find my creativity has been stifled after a career in medicine, but now I'm exploring the other side of my brain again. There's a keyword again, and loving it. The third statement goes with this. You say, I find that humor can be both a protective mechanism and a nidus. I looked that up. It's a focal point for creativity. I'm using all the strange ER stories in a screenplay I'm working on. Oh my, Josh, 3 minutes, unpack this. It sounds very creative. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Josh.
You know, medicine is it's a very broad field, and there's lots of different sections and rabbit holes you can fall into. But at the end of the day, it's all chemistry, biology, physiology, and then just some human interaction in there. It's been 20 some years, and you can just read so many pathology books and anatomy and emergency medicine and pharmacology for 20 years that that creative side of your brain almost dies. When I was a resident, I was able to kind of find an outlet and write a screenplay. I was working 110 hours a week, and my release was sitting down and writing a screenplay. When I was in Iraq, my release was reading the Harry Potter series, escaping somewhere, a bomb-proof shelter, and reading some stories to just forget about the doom and gloom and body bags. And now I've got myself in a position after, so many years that I've amassed so many crazy stories. People will do the wildest things. And there's a macabre humor to that, because if, going to work every day and not to get too the terrible stories, but like rape and murder and just horrific, just terrible things I see every day. That, when I saw an 18-year-old bit in the face by a rattlesnake because he was trying to take a selfie, I find that very funny. He was minutes from death. His face had swollen up so large. His friends came in taking pictures, and they just like laughing and giggling. And you guys, you think this is pretty funny, huh? They're like,
I'm ready to leave the show, Josh.
Yeah. I'm like, hey,
ahead.
no, he's gonna die. He's got about 5-10 minutes, and that airway is gonna close off. I have to cut his neck open. And they just the faces, the blood just drains, and the ER nurse gets pissed off at him, throws him out of the room. And I was able to secure the airway. I didn't have to cut his neck open, but he went to the ICU. He lived, but I had I made a joking statement that if this kid does not make it and eliminates himself from the gene pool, I'm going to submit him for a Darwin Award. And the people that don't know the Darwin Awards is some of the most unique and interesting ways for people to kill themselves off and remove them from the contributing to the gene pool of humanity. And that there's some pretty ridiculous ones. I thought that it was trying to get a selfie with a rattlesnake. It was a pretty dumb way to go, but he did live. So
I'm glad he lived. Interesting. I ran into this. I was visually assaulted by this phenomenon. And I think people who are facing death and tragedy and difficulties like what you've seen in war zones and in other ways with your emergency medicine work, Josh, have to come up with an armor to protect yourself. That's what
it's not survivable. It will consume you and destroy you. So if you can't sit down and laugh with people about some crazy things.
Well,
oof.
even on scene, years ago when I was growing up, I must have been a young teenager in New York, and a neighbor's grandmother had conked out on the sidewalk. She was taking out the garbage. She lived with them across the street. And I was studying and I heard an ambulance and it was right outside my window. And they came and she had passed away. It was Grandma Ida and she made the most wonderful pizza from challah. If anybody knows what challah bread is, she made marvelous pizza from challah and we were friends with her. And I was looking and watching this scene going on, peeking behind the blinds. And the people from the ambulance were having a conversation, not the ones who took her out, but other ones, and they were laughing. And I was so offended. And my dad was a doctor, my mother was a former nurse, and I said to them, why? How could they be laughing? Grandma Ida just died. And they said, because that's how they deal with what they do. They have to find the humor and the humanity in being able to deal with illness and death. So thank you, Josh. Interesting memory. Remember so many things that seem trivial, and they're not. Doug Schmidt, let's bring this up a notch. Doug, I have 2 statements I'm going to read for you. One, you say beginning to play guitar and take lessons helped me understand creativity takes patience and persistence. Number 2, you said reading the book, Learning How to Learn, helped me learn that creativity is multidisciplined and the importance of curiosity. And very often on this show, Doug, we talk about courageous creativity, and curiosity is a component of creativity. Courage, confidence. Go ahead. So, Doug, just spend about 3 minutes and unpack these for me, please. Go ahead.
Yes, I started with the guitar lessons. I've always appreciated, well, my mom was a church organist, but I was never a musician when I was a kid. So like 65, I said, oh, let me take guitar lessons. And what I learned is that these great musicians work and work and work. It's not, they talk about inborn talent. There's so much discipline and work that has to go into learning guitar. And it relates to one of the chapters in my book is developing a growth and grit mindset. Learning guitar, when I first did it, I was horrible at it. Just really, I'm going, how am I going to do this? And I think the important thing I learned through learning how to play the guitar is be persistent in that failure is a learning opportunity, and that being good at anything takes time, takes effort. And I think Carol Dweck said the statement, not ready yet. So the being, using creativity many times, not a light switch that goes off in our brain. There might be a switch that goes on, but to develop the final product or final service, whether it's a book, whether it's playing a sport, whatever, just takes persistence and patience, and it takes a growth and grit mindset, and also it takes a lot of mental strength too, because there'll be a lot of frustrations and challenges. And that with this creativity experience I felt learning guitar is the obstacles the way. In that when I first, there's a book called The Obstacles Away by Ryan. When I first read that book, I hated it. I said, I've had enough obstacles. But then when I started to realize that the obstacles are my best learning experiences. That's one of the things. And that helps developing growth and the grit. The book Learning How to Learn by Oakley actually changed my life, in that she actually flunked math in high school. She has a PhD in engineering. And she learned the gaps in her learning and looked at the neuroscience of how our brains create neural links, and how understanding that fundamental aspect of learning the different types of learning, like focus on something, diffuse is when I'm thinking about something, but understanding the science of learning relates to how we develop these neural links in our brain and creativity in our brain. So they're the 2 aspects. It's frustrating at times, just like writing this book. Was it frustrating at times? There are days I had to walk away and go, you know what? Yep. I'm done for a while. Let me take a break. So I think it relates to creativity, in that creativity is a process. It's not an event. It takes time and patience. And that also, too, I think there's a spiritual aspect of it, too, that I think we're all here for a reason. And that one of the challenges is finding out the reason we're here. And that takes persistence in people and also having role models and mentors to help us guide us along the way.
Well, you're here right now to enlighten us about how your learning is and what you're doing in your life. So thank you for, I hope that's a very small part of your purpose. Thank you very much. I want to move on to David. And David, I've combined two statements as well. You say, the grandeur of nature, big and small, inspires me every day. And then you say, I've always had the ability to study a broad range of topics and see, and you put air quotes around them, how they might fit together in the future and what the implication might be. David, can you spend about 3 minutes and tell us what this does for you and your creativity, please?
Well, that's true. And if you were to look at some of my academic research, I at times would take an interdisciplinary approach and pull things from totally different areas together. For example, when you're talking about the automation of services in the 1980s, there's a whole bunch of interdisciplinary things. My creativity comes about from nature, and I'm just in awe of nature. I'm in Florida. When I play golf, I may have a alligator walk across the golf course, or and only me. The guys are worrying about their score. I'm sitting there going, "How conscious is this alligator? How does the alligator see its existence? Is it aware, and to what degree is it aware, and things like that." And I do the same. We have a walking trail around the neighborhood here, and when I walk by trees, sometimes I'll take 8 or 10 pictures on one tree. And again, I'm a little weird, and I'm looking at the bark, or I'm looking at some aspect of it, and I'm thinking, how did nature do that? And it's just like Douglas said, it's part spiritual and it's part science, and I'm getting a lot of spiritual uplift and motivation from just being around nature. And for example, there are people that you could have on who are astronomers and stuff, and they could tell you there isn't 5 or 6 reasons we're here and it's highly unique that little planet Earth is here. There are thousands of reasons, major things that had to happen for this little tiny little speck of wonder called Earth to be here and hold an atmosphere and protect us against radiation and have a moon. I probably have read 10 articles on the size of the moon. Well, sometimes, what if you had no moon? What would happen? What if you had 2 or 3 small moons? What if you had a huge moon, too big a moon? And it's pretty amazing that the moon we have is right-sized and allows us to do certain things on Earth that you couldn't do on another planet. So I'm constantly looking at plants and animals and asking questions about consciousness and AI and what's the purpose of life. Even simple things like my wife has these beautiful orchids, and we can play symphony music, and sometimes the orchids look like they move toward the music. Is the plant conscious? Or where. So anyway, that's where I get my motivation from nature every day. I walk every day, and I play golf a few times a week. And I'm in awe of the planet. And that is the driving force. And it is a real strong force that motivated me to write this novel series, because I want to save humanity, because I actually think if we don't look at if we don't mitigate global warming and we keep non-cooperating and fighting and human discord, those two things are going to combine. And meanwhile, AI is going to get smarter and smarter, and it'll get connected to our financial system, then our healthcare.
Okay, all right, we're not going to go there. We're not. That's you can go on another show, but
they did a movie on that, right?
Right.
Listen,
Well,
David.
actually, I'm working on a screenplay with some
David,
folks in
Romance
LA.
in My Rambler by David A. Bourbon. I want you to take 1 minute because we're almost out of time and tell us
Okay.
about your novel because I've been dying to know. Well, I haven't been dying, but I want to know about that. And so does everybody else. Go ahead. 1 minute. What you got?
It's a feel-good novel about the 1960s. And I'm 16 years old, and my dad comes in, and my mom, and they're so proud. I'm the son of an electrician, so with a brand new car, and it's a Rambler.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Nash Rambler.
yeah, and I take that Rambler out the first day, and I happen to reach down and pull a lever, and the seat falls down. And actually, both seats would lay flat and make a bed.
Doug gets it. Josh isn't sure. And I'm going to say, I want you to send me a copy of the ebook, please, David. I would love to read it. Don't give any more teasers, but that sounds interesting. Thank you all for your statements. I'm looking at the clock. We got 6 minutes left, and I have a whole bunch of stuff to share with you. So, today in music history, I think I have some interesting things for you. In 1960, today, Frank Sinatra launched the first fully artist-owned record label, Reprise Records. You might have seen it, and you might think it's Reprise. It's Reprise, Reprise. He wants to own his own masters of his music. Dean Martin and Rosemary Clooney joined the label. The label was sold to Warner Brothers in 1963, 3 years later, and it became the label that attracted Jimi Hendrix, Joni Mitchell, and Green Day. Interesting. That's the history of Frank Sinatra and Reprise. On this day in 61, Bob Dylan, there's a big movie about him right now. He made his first recordings, versions of San Francisco Bay Blues and Jesus Met the Woman at the Well at the home of his friends Sid and Bob Gleason in East Orange, New Jersey. I knew East Orange was famous for something. In 1964, on this day, the Beach Boys released Fun, Fun, Fun. Remember that one? It never got higher than number 5. And can you imagine why? Anybody know why it never made it more than number 5 on the charts? Because the Beatles had shown up and they were taking everything over. Speaking of the Beatles, 2 years later, on this day in 1966, Paul McCartney met Stevie Wonder for the first time. Stevie Wonder was doing a show at a nightclub in London, and Paul McCartney met him after. That must have been a historic day. On this day in 69, the Beatles, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr hired Alan Klein as their new manager. But guess what? Paul McCartney wanted his father-in-law, Lee Eastman, Linda Eastman's father, his first wife, to be the manager. They broke up a year later, the Beatles, over this dissension. On this day in 73, Elton John's Reptile rocker, Josh, you can relate to that with your snake story, Crocodile Rock, hit number 1 in the U.S. for the first of 3 weeks. It was his first chart topper in the U.S. And on this day in 81, at the Who concert at the Rainbow Theatre in London, Pete Townsend drank 4 bottles of brandy on stage. Josh, where were you to help him off the stage?
Yeah.
Instead of
Oh, my.
playing, he got mouthy with the crowd, and his bandmates kept playing without him. That goes down in history. There you go.
Huh.
Today is the birthday of Nathan Lane. You all know Nathan Lane, the actor. He's 69. There you go. He's catching up to you, Dave Collier. Actor and star of hit musicals The Producers, Guys and Dolls, The Birdcage with Robin Williams. He voiced Timon in the 1994 Disney film The Lion King. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2006 and inducted into the American Theater Hall of Fame. Morgan Fairchild, you may or may not remember her, actress, TV, and she was in the soap opera Search for Tomorrow. She was in Falcon Crest, Murphy Brown, and she's most famous recently for playing Chandler Bing's mom on Friends. That's the late Matthew Perry. She was his mom. And Amal Clooney, all I'll just say is that she's a lawyer, an activist, an author, and she married George Clooney, the actor, in 2014. In memoriam, Magellan. You ever heard of Magellan? Ferdinand Magellan, the explorer who sought a westerly route for spices, and he planned the first successful expedition to circumnavigate the world. He was the first one to sail from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. I have 3 minutes. This is perfect. Here are the birthdays I was telling you about. Listen up. On TikTok, don't say anything about that. Fernanda Ortega is 29 years old today. She has 9 million plus subscribers. Josh, I was telling you, we don't know it. Always saying, you can't handle the truth? I can't handle the truth. What is she? And on Instagram, she's got 2.4 million followers. She posts lip sync videos set to hit songs. She does comedic videos and viral dance routines. Seriously. and she does a YouTube with her identical twin. On Instagram, we have a young lady named India Love, Love. She's 29 today. Poor girl. She only has 5 million subscribers. She's a blogger on Tumblr, and she's a model, and she's with her sisters on a TV show called The Westbrook. And then on Instagram, again, we have a young man named Taylor Caniff, or Caniff, Caniff. He's 29. He only has 2.9 million followers, 2 million on Vine, and 340,000 on YouTube. So I wanted you all to know, people are out there getting millions, millions. I had somebody on last week in this segment of the show where I was reading birthdays, Josh, who had 10.9 billion views of one of his videos.
Whoa.
I know. So people are out there listening. The question is, how do we get them to pay attention to us? Today is American Painters Day. It's National Women Physicians Day, Josh.
There we go.
First Elizabeth Blackwell's birthday, the first female medical doctor in the U.S. There you go. And there were still, for the first time in history, women now make up more than half of all those in medical schools. I thought that was interesting. It's Doggy Date Night. Remember Lady and the Tramp, the picture in 1955? Maybe, yes, some of us do. That was the most famous. It's Elmo's birthday on Sesame Street. Elmo is always 3.5 years old. God bless Elmo. It's National Carrot Cake Day. It's Golden Retriever Day. I've got 2 minutes. Good. National Retriever Day, Golden Retriever, Wedding Ring Day. Just celebrate your wedding ring if you have one. And International Networking Week. February, it's Barley Month, Berry Fresh Month, the celebration of chocolate. I celebrate that every month of the year. Exotic vegetables and star fruit, Florida strawberries, Great American Pie Month, avocados, bananas, baked, cherry, fondue, grapefruit, macadamia. I'm running out of time here. It's the month of creative romance. It's the month of condoms. We'll leave that one alone. Maybe we won't. It's Spunky Old Broad Month. Stop looking at me. It's Women Inventors Month, Wedding Month, International, Doug likes that, Blah Buster Month, Goat Yoga Month, and Pull Your Sofa Off the Wall. And I'm ready to close. I got to rush now. Okay. In 2014, I closed with the top 10 tips for women, and this was number 1, I swear, 10 years ago. Aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. We'll leave that one alone. Here we go. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Nah. Kiss slowly. Oh, yeah. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Laugh with me, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Ah! You could have done better. Never regret anything that made you smile. Here we go. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I taught disco in a high school cafeteria in high heels, everybody watched, and I never fell. Sing like nobody's listening. I didn't sing today. And love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Let your heart grow back. Money talks. Chocolate sings. La. And last but not least, I stole this line from somebody years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Everybody wave goodbye. Don't go away, guest. Jordan, are we out?
All clear.
All clear. I'm going to play the outro for social media. Let me just get this outro going here, and let's get started here. So wait a minute.
You to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people as she discovers what makes them tick, where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion, and how their creative process can inspire the rest of us to think out of the box.
That's why we're
Enjoy akaRadioRed's always lively, cool conversations with creatives on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Oh, how those lips can talk.
There we go. That's the outro. So I'm going to say goodbye to social. Everybody wave goodbye. Jordan, thank you. Voice America Empowerment YouTube channel, and